Here we are on the front of our Heartland Prowler 262 SRL. We're going to do a technical walkthrough like you would get from the technician when on date of delivery, going over the operation of the components on the unit. Your unit may vary differently, but this is based on the floor plan and the year model. If you find where your component differs in brand name or anything like that, you can find more information on those components and these in the Helpful Hacks playlist on our Great American RV YouTube channel. So we're going to start in the front here. Of course, we have our power ton jack. Our ton jack has our light off and on and our extend and retract. And this is going to be a 12-volt jack. You're going to have a wire running down here over to your battery section, and generally you're going to have an inline fuse in here. So if you notice where your light's not working, you're not sure if your bulb's bad, go check that inline fuse. And good way to tell if you got 12 volts, either your light's off or on, and your jack may or may not work. So this motor can go out and that 12-volt fuse can be blown, or your battery could be dead. So if you check the battery and the fuse and everything seems okay, there is an override for this jack. Little black plug on the top of here, we remove that. We put that crank handle in here, and then we can manually run that jack up and down. In the front, we also have our 7-way plug. This will plug into the truck and transfer our lights, our blinkers, all that stuff to our camper. We also have a battery charge line that's going to pull off the alternator of the truck through here, and it'll charge our battery while that engine is running. We also are going to have our electric brake line that runs through here from our brake controller on the truck, controlling the brakes on our trailer. Now we also have another safety device on here for our braking. There is a breakaway box down here that is going to have a pin in it that is connected to this cable. This cable needs to be connected on the receiver hitch itself of the vehicle you are towing with, not the ball hitch, not the chains, anything like that, to the receiver hitch itself, maybe with a lanyard or however you want to do it. The object is if that hitch breaks or this tongue or anything like that breaks, this cable will pull that pin out of that breakaway box and it will activate the brakes on this trailer. Only if you have a good 12-volt source on the trailer itself, meaning you have a good battery. If you don't, those brakes aren't going to activate. It needs power in order to operate. So make sure you have a good 12-volt battery, and also make sure that that pin is always inserted in that box when you're traveling. Otherwise, it could be activating your brakes. Behind that, we have our dual propane tanks, and with that, we have our dual propane regulator. A dual propane regulator is going to have a selector switch on it. You select which tank you want to use as your primary. When that tank runs dry, the indicator on there is going to give you a red signal, and it will begin to pull from that secondary tank so you don't lose any propane while you're using it. If you're using a grill or the stovetop, anything like that, it'll pull from that secondary tank. You can move that selector switch over the secondary tank. That indicator should change if you have an appropriate level of propane in it, and you can have the other one filled. Behind that is our battery box. That's where we store our battery, connect it all up, and right behind that we'll see our battery disconnect. Our battery disconnect is for if we are storing our unit unplugged or we're not using it, we want to turn that battery disconnect off so we're not pulling voltage from our battery. So it's a storage mode, right? If we are plugging in our unit and storing it or using our unit at any point, we want that battery disconnect on, otherwise certain 12-volt components won't work in our unit and that battery is not going to charge from our converter system in the unit. Here on the driver's side of our unit, we'll notice we have a Lippert tire link system pre-wired in here. All we'd have to do is purchase the monitor and the sensors that go on the tires, and we can monitor our tire pressure and heat while we're traveling down the road. So that's already pre-wired for the power there. We're also going to have another disconnect in here. That disconnect is for our solar controller. We are pre-wired for a solar system on here if we want to add panels. The controllers are already there, and along with that disconnect, we can find more information from that on that QR code on the side for that solar system if we want to upgrade that. But all the wiring is already there ready to go, and that controller will basically, once we add solar panels, turn that solar energy into charging power for our battery. So this disconnect being different from our one in the front, if we are parking our unit out in the sun for storage and we're not plugged in, we can turn that disconnect on and it will help charge that battery and maintain it as long as we have solar, of course. And if we don't want that system on, we can just shut it off. Over here behind the compartment, we have a little switch, extend and retract. We also have another one in the rear. That is for our LCI stabilizer system. That stabilizer system is not a leveling system. So when we get to a campground or site, we need to use the stacker blocks under our tires, roll up on them, and level our unit from left to right. Then we can use our front tongue jack to level that unit from front to back. Once we're done, then we run these stabilizers to the ground and put just a little bit of weight on them, and that is to help reduce movement that you feel in the unit when somebody is walking around. If you put too much weight on these, they will break and bend, and the manufacturer is not going to cover that. There is an override for that system. We'll go over that right now. So here we are opposite of our motor in and our switch, and we have this handle. We can see this handle has a little slice in it, and it will line up with the post on that jack. We line it up, and we can manually run that jack up and down if we need to. Here, just before our slide out, we have our waste outlet. This is where you're going to hook up that 4-inch sewer hose and go to either our dump station, or if at our campsite we have a sewer connection there, we'll hook that hose up, and you have two valves right there. One valve is for our gray tank and one valve is for our black tank. So our gray tank is going to be our shower water and our sink water, stuff like that, and that valve can stay open all the time as long as we have that hose connected and just flow out. Of course, if we don't have a hose connection, we leave that valve closed until we get to a dump station. Our black tank, however, is going to hold our sewage from our toilet. It's very important that we leave that valve closed all the time until we're ready to dump. Even if you have that hose at your site, do not leave that valve open. Want to leave it closed because we need to keep that water and chemical in there to help dissolve any of the sewage, toilet paper in that tank. If we don't, those solids are going to harden up in there and it's going to be impossible to clean. So keep that valve closed so that water can build up and dispose of that. When we are ready to dump, we go ahead and pull that valve and we can go ahead and dump out that sewage that's in there, and then we want to flush our tank. So there is a black tank flush on this unit. We'll show you where that's at a little bit later, but you'll hook the hose up to that black tank flush connection and turn the hose on, and there's a spray nozzle on the other end of the tank that's going to spray that debris down and it'll come out of that pipe. Now that'll do a pretty good job, but if you want to go a step further, you can go with the pro tip. This tip does come with a warning. If you overflow your tank, you will cause damage to the interior of your unit. So you have to monitor this properly if you do it this way. So keep that in mind. If you overflow it, it's on you. But you turn that black tank flush on, you go ahead and flush it out. You can close that black tank valve and let a little bit of water build up in that tank, open the valve and let it flush out again. This will just help pick up some of that debris that might be stuck or whatever and help push it down the way. The tank is slanted, so it's going to come this way regardless, and it just helps flush it out a little bit better, helps get stuff off sensors if they're stuck. It's just another way of doing it, but we have to monitor that tank properly. We can monitor it by our sensors on the inside that we'll go over in a little while. When we are done flushing out our tank, no matter which way we choose to do it, we need to make sure we put water back in that tank. We can do that by just shutting everything off, close that black tank valve, go over to our toilet and hold it down for a minute or two and put several gallons of water in there along with some chemicals. And while you're driving, it'll actually slosh around in that tank and actually clean it up some more. And the chemicals are obviously going to help break down anything that's left and keep it smelling nice. So make sure gray tank open, you can leave it open all the time, and black tank, leave it closed until you're ready to dump. You are equipped at the top corner of each slide out with the brackets for a Solera slide topper, so if you want to add that on, those brackets are already there. Here on the rear of our unit, we have our 50 amp power cord right here. That'll twist lock in, put it in, turn it to the right to lock it in. You have a little retainment ring. You want to tighten up on there to keep it from falling out, and also to make sure there's no gap on that connection causing any arcing. We also want to make sure we plug this in first and then plug it into our power pole at the campsite, and also make sure that your AC is off so you're not causing any surges to that air conditioner system, the compressor system on that AC. Behind that, we have our city water connection. That's if we have a water source wherever we're at, we run a water hose from it over here, plug it in, and we turn our water on. We'll have water to our camper. Below that, we have that outdoor shower, hot and cold right there. We also have our Lippert stabilizer jacks in the rear, just like we do in the front. And we have our low point drain sticking out of that bottom corner. There's a red and blue line with some valves on it. Those valves are to be opened whenever winter time comes around. You can drain all your water out of your system and choose to put RV antifreeze in your system. That way you can protect your unit during the winter. You can find more information on that in your owner's manual or on our Great American RV YouTube channel under Helpful Hacks. Here on the rear of our unit, we have our cable port. If our campground has cable, we can run a coax from there over to our unit, and we can scan for cable channels inside our unit. Up top, you'll see our pre-wiring for our Furrion backup camera system. The power is already ran for it. You can just purchase that Furrion camera system and install it there. On either end of our bumper there, we have some plastic caps. We can pull those off and we can store our sewer hose in there. As a matter of fact, put our caps back on for storage there. We have our full-size tire, spare tire, and obviously we have no ladder right here provided from the manufacturer, but on the side of our unit right here on that corner, we do have that Lippert on-the-go ladder system. It's a bracket installed up there. You can purchase the telescopic ladder to carry around with you and have access to the roof of your unit. This is important for many factors. We need to make sure we're checking that rubber after we take trips, make sure we didn't scrape any trees or anything like that, poking holes in our rubber. If we did, we need to make sure that we maintain that right away or get it to a service center for repair. We also need to check our sealants around all of our vents and mainly on our sidewalls as well, around our windows, our side trim. Anywhere where there was a hole put in your unit, there's going to be sealant, including the roof and sidewalls. We need to maintain that every 60 to 90 days. That is required by the manufacturer to stay under warranty. They will not participate in any water leaks, damage, or anything like that if our unit is not being maintained. We need to take care of our camper just like we take care of our car. It's like changing the oil in our car. We're maintaining our unit so it'll last for years to come. On the passenger side of our unit, we have, of course, access to our pass-through bay right there and that QR code right there in the front for that solar system. We can get more information on that. And just right on the other side of our arm, we'll have that black tank flush port that we talked about for our sewage system to flush out that black tank. Of course, we have our 12-volt powered awning and our 12-volt awning lights right there to provide us with some light and sunshade. All that 12-volt operated. If we have any issues with it, we can go to that fuse panel on the inside. We'll show you in a little while and check those fuses to make sure they're not blown. Now, our awning is a sunshade mainly. We may have a little drizzle, rain, so on and so forth, or condensation from our AC runoff onto it, as well as maybe some dew. The important thing when we have our awning out is that we either pitch it to the front or to the back. In order to do that real easy with this Solera awning, we grab right here at the middle of this awning where this pinch point is and just pull it down a little bit. We allow that water to drain off on there. We keep it like that until we are ready to roll our awning in. When we're ready to roll it in, we push it back up and we can roll that awning in. This is important because if water puddles up on the middle of that awning, it will collapse and cause damage to that awning, not covered by warranty. It will become an expensive insurance claim. Anytime a storm's rolling in, starts raining heavy, you need to roll that awning in. You got a windstorm, high winds, anything like that, roll that awning in. You're leaving your campground for an extended period of time, roll that awning in. If you don't, it will cause damage once again, and it can be a pricey repair. All right, moving a little further down our unit, we have our Suburban water heater. This is electric and propane. We'll go over the information on how that operates on the inside. You want more information on that specific water heater? You guessed it, you can find that in our Helpful Hacks section. Right here, you'll see a hole in your J-wrap. You have a crank handle you can put in there. This is for the override on our slide out. We have an electric through frame slide out, and they have provided access to be able to override that in the event something goes wrong. We can grab that crank handle, put it in there, and just crank away and run that slide out in or out so you're not stranded at the campground. Over to the left of all that is our outdoor cable hookup and our 110 outlet for our outside TV. Now that 110 outlet is GFCI protected, which means that in the event that it gets wet or you plug too many griddles or anything like that, it's going to trip out, and we're going to go to our main GFCI outlet, which is going to be found in our bathroom. We'll touch on that later, but that's where we're going to go if those GFCI protected outlets are in op. Then we'll go to that and reset that system. To the left of that, we have our Suburban furnace, a gas-operated appliance that's going to go ahead and heat your unit. This is the exhaust for it. This exhaust and this exhaust for your water heater are both going to get a little warm whenever it is being operated, so be mindful of that while you're out here. Of course, we have our outdoor speakers up there controlled by our radio on the inside, and we have a vent. This vent right here is for over our stovetop, our 3-burner stove in there. We have a little hood vent just like you do at home. We can exhaust that cooking air outside. But there are 2 tabs on it. We got to open those tabs, open that vent up, and allow that air to exit. We can close those tabs when we store our unit to prevent any rodents, insects, anything like that from getting in our unit and building a nest. Behind me here, we have our freshwater connection. We open that cap right there, and we can put a water hose in here and fill our onboard storage. We use that whenever we go somewhere where we don't have a water source. We have a big tank in our unit. We'd fill it up with however much water we need to fill for that tank, and when we are ready to use it, we kick on that 12-volt water pump, which we'll show you when we get to the interior, and that will provide water to our fixtures. When we don't want that water, we're not using it, or we don't want the added extra weight, we can go ahead and drain that out of the bottom of our unit. You'll see a blue hose down there with a water valve. Open it up and that water will drain out of our unit. We also don't want to keep it in there for a long time because that water can become stagnant. So if we're not using it, just drain that water out until we need to fill it back up. So at our entry door, we'll notice a little magnet right here at the bottom. When we open that door and go up against our sidewall, there's a little magnet there that will hold that door. We have our Lippert solid steps right here. In order to store them, we lift it up, put it in, we'll find that little yellow lever right there. Just turn it, make sure that we're locked in on the frame on both sides. You can give it a little tug to make sure, and then close your entry door. When we want to pull it out, pull that lever again, and we can drop it down. Now it's very important after we have leveled our unit, we need to come level our steps. In order to do that, there is a little pin in here. We pull that pin out and we can slide our feet up and down in order to get it to the appropriate level. Now that is important for a couple of reasons. Number one, we're providing ourselves a nice level step to get in and out of the unit, but we also want to make sure the frame of our door isn't hitting the frame of our steps, causing any damage to either one. And we're also making sure that our threshold is at the appropriate height for that door to actually be able to close. Anytime we are getting the steps stored or unstored, we want to make sure our door is open all the way so we're not dragging against that screen and messing up the door as well. To the left of our steps, you'll notice under there a quick connect for our propane. If we want to put an outdoor grill or anything out here, we can do that and hook to that propane system and pull from our tanks in the front. So here we have our control center right inside the door of our unit. We can check all of our black tanks, our gray tanks, our battery, and our fresh tank levels right here. This will light up according to what level they're at. Now you will see multiple tanks on here. Your unit only has one black and one gray. As you can see, tanks may vary by model. It's just a generic panel that they put in their every one of their units. We'll notice here we have that 12-volt water pump switch. We can kick that on when we want to use that onboard water storage that we have to provide water to us. If we do have a city water connection, or if you hear that pump running all the time, you want to go ahead and turn that off. You only want to use it when that onboard storage is needed, and it is an on-demand system. You only hear that pump running whenever water is being used. So if you hear the pump running and nothing's on, I want to kick it off because you may have a leak. Our water heater is controlled by, like I said, LP gas or electric. If we want to use that LP gas, we kick it on and we'll notice the DSI fault light pop up right there. That's going to turn off once our system is activated. If it stays on or it comes back on, then we may have a fault in our system. We want to go and check that out. I do suggest bleeding the air out of your system first before we activate this. We'll go over that when we get to the stovetop. Our electric, as long as we're plugged into shore power, we can kick that on and our heating element will begin to heat up that water. Now we do have LP and electric. If we want to heat that water up a little bit faster, question is always asked, can I turn them both on? Absolutely. It will help heat it up a little faster, but it's not like it's going to be lightning speed or anything, so just keep that in mind. Our light 1 controls our outside light. Our light 2 controls our inside lights. We have our slide out operation in and out and our awning in and out as well. All this stuff is controlled by 12 volts, so if we have any problems, we're going to go to that 12 volt fuse panel and check our fuses in there. Above our control center, we do have a radio system. We turn it off, on, we got Bluetooth, we have HDMI connections and everything. If we want to hook up a game console and we don't want to run it to the TV, we can run that HDMI here and it'll run to the TV. And also we have our zones A and B that will control our outdoor speakers. So in our living room area, of course, we have our mount for our TV. We have the HDMI sticking out that comes from our radio. And we have a little coax connection right here. That coax connection is for our cable and antenna channels. You have that antenna up there, and we have a little button on here with a green light. That green light turn off and on when we hit the button. The green light means that we have power to our antenna boost. So if we're searching for air channels, we don't have cable, we want that green light on so it will boost the ability for that antenna to pick up air channels around the area and help them come in a little cleaner, maybe pick out a few more channels for you. If we want to use cable, we want that light to be off. That 12 volts will scramble the cable coming from the campground, so make sure you have that light off when we're scanning for cable. Down below me, we have our electric fireplace. We'll go over the operation of that now. Here we have our fireplace. We have a sensor right up here in the top right. We have to aim that remote at to turn it on. We have our Celsius and Fahrenheit temperature we can change to. And right here, this little flame icon is going to change the dimness of our flame. If we want to change the lighting of our flame, we hit the light bulb on the screen down here at the bottom, and it'll give you some different options right there. If we want to operate our heater on a timer, once again, electric heater, it is going to be this button right here. It looks like a clock, and when we push it, we can see some times pop up: 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, all the way up to 8, and then it will go to 0 hours, letting you know that that timer is off. If we want to change our temperature, we'll use one of these two buttons at the bottom, and we can see once again we have a temperature down there, and we will go ahead and raise it until it kicks on, or lower it, we want it to kick off, or we can keep going until it says on, and that heater will stay running all the time. We kick it up one more time and it's going to say OF, meaning that that system is off. In our kitchen, we have our 110 microwave, our 3-burner Suburban stovetop, and an air fryer. Our hood vent right here, we have a light and a fan. That fan is for the exhaust for that vent outside that we talked about. Our stovetop does have a glass counter we can have down for more counter space, and we need to also have it down when we're in travel so that glass doesn't fall and break. When we want to use our 3-burner stove, we go ahead and choose the burner that we want to use, turn it to the light right here above the high, and then we're going to turn that spark igniter until that burner lights. Of course, we want to have our propane on in order for that to operate. We talked earlier when we were at our water heater about bleeding air out of our system. Anytime you bring your unit out of storage and you had your propane tanks off, or you just change your propane tanks, you're going to end up with air in your system. Before you go operate things like your water heater or your furnace, anything that is gas operated, always tell customers, come to your stovetop first and bleed the air out of the system, and that will lessen the opportunity for any faults to occur on any of those other gas operated appliances. So to do that, you simply turn it to light and crank it up and wait for it to light. When you have air in the lines, it may take a little bit of time to light, but once it does, let it run for about 30 to 60 seconds, and that will allow that system to kind of bleed the air out. It should have a nice blue ring flame around there, and then you're good to go. When we're ready to operate our air fryer, pretty simple. We're just going to take that dial right there, turn it to whatever temperature we want, and it's going to go to town without a whole lot of work. And we can throw our food in there once it preheats, and we're ready to cook. Units equipped with a 12-volt refrigerator. You generally have options to turn it off and on, as well as change your cold settings in the refrigerator and the freezer. And we need to make sure that when we are done using our unit, we store our unit and this system is off, or we're unplugged, we have the battery disconnect off, whatever the case may be, this unit is off. We need to defrost that freezer and refrigerator, get all the water and moisture out of there. These don't have drain tubes on them, so that water can leak out of these doors and damage our wood components around it, not covered by warranty. So make sure we are opening these doors, get everything cleaned out and dried out. You're also going to have a travel latch right here. That's to help keep those doors from opening while you are traveling down the road and keep your goods in order. We have our 110 breakers and our 12-volt fuses right here. This is that control center I was telling you anytime something's not working. Best place to go right here. We have all of our stuff labeled. We can tell what operates what. Check these 12-volt fuses, make sure none of them are blown, and check our 110 breakers to make sure none are tripped. Over to the left of that, we have our LPCO detector. This is a safety device. We can tell it's on by the little green light down there at the bottom. It is 12-volt hardwired into your system, and it's going to notify you if we have any cautious gases that we need to be aware of in our unit. In order to test it, we hold down that little test button for a second and it will start chirping. We need to test that every so often to make sure it is operational. These do have an expiration date on it, usually stamped on the front here. They're good for about 5 years. If it's not stamped on the front, undo these 2 screws, pull it out, and it'll be stamped on the label on the back. We do have smoke detectors in our unit as well, powered by a 9-volt battery. We want to check that and make sure the power on those is good, as well as the chirper. Here we have our AC thermostat for our AirXL Coleman AC. We'll go over the operation of that now. This is our AirXL thermostat right here. You'll have one for each separate air conditioning system in your unit. In order to operate, you'll hit that space bar down at the bottom. You'll cycle through. You have the options for fan low and fan high. This will only circulate the air throughout your unit. It will not cool your unit. So when we're ready to go into that cool mode, we hit it one more time and it's going to go into cool high or cool low. This will keep the fan on all the time, whether your compressor circulates off or not. It will continue to blow that fan, so the air may not always be cool while it is initiated. Now, one thing that you need to remember is during the summertime, you really actually want it running on cool high, so it will help clear out that condenser and dry it up during those hot months where that compressor is only cycling every so often. If we want to keep it in auto where that fan shuts off whenever the compressor shuts off, we're going to hit it one more time. We're going to go into auto and we can choose our low or high speed. Once again, that fan shutting off when the compressor shuts off and it's done cooling. For your central thermostat, more than likely in your living room area, you will have that heat option that will initiate the furnace as well. When we want to turn that system off, we just continue to cycle through till we get to that off position. When we want to change our temperature, we can just use these arrows right here. That will adjust our temperature on our unit. The initial temperature that you have on here, this is your actual room temperature that you have. So here we have our sealing assembly for our AC system. This sealing assembly has 2 filters, one on each side right here. You pull those 2 tabs, you can clean that filter system out, and you need to do that regularly so we're not restricting the flow of our AC. You also see 2 vents right here. You can slide them open. What those are is those are quick dump valves. If we want to just cool off just this living room area right here real quick, then want to open those up and the air will just push out of these vents. Now we do have ceiling vents in here. This is a ducted unit. So if we want the air to transfer through those ducts throughout the entire unit, we go ahead and close these off. If we don't do that, that air is not going to circulate through those vents. All right, here we are in the bathroom. Our shower is pretty cut and dry. You have a hot and cold. The only difference on an RV is you have your shower head. You can push this little latch right here, the button, and it will turn off at the shower head itself. This is convenient for whenever you are dry camping, you are trying to conserve the amount of water you're putting into your gray tank as well as the water you're using from your fresh tank. And the easy way of doing that is just shutting the valve off at the shower head in between rinsing off and lathering up, and you won't have to worry about trying to find that sweet spot for the hot and cold. If you have a city water connection and a dump station and you're not worried about any of that stuff, don't worry about it. Use it like normal if you wish. And when we take a shower, we also have our exhaust vent up there with a little fan. It's always suggested that you open that up and exhaust that steam out of here, reduce heat and humidity in our unit, and help reduce the opportunity for mold and mildew as well. We have our toilet. Our toilet is going to go down to our black tank. Remember, toilet is for 1 and 2, and we need to treat it like a septic system. Don't put anything else in there, just our sewage. You will cause issues with your drainage, getting caught up in pipes and stuff. So just 1 and 2 and our chemicals. If we're doing number 1, hit that pedal right there on the side and flush it down. We're doing number 2, we need to fill that bowl up about half to 3/4 of the way so we have enough water in there to help flush those solids down the drain. If we don't, it could get caught up in the pipe and cause some issues. So make sure we're filling it up properly. After we flushed our tank out, this is where we can go to add water and put our chemicals in as well. To the right of me, we have that GFCI protected outlet that we talked about. This is going to control all the outlets in your wet locations outside, in your kitchen, stuff like that. Generally, all of them have a label on them that say GFCI protected. So if one's not working, we want to come to this outlet here. Now this one has 2 buttons. They all do. They're going to have 2 buttons. One's going to be a test button. One's going to be a reset button. That test button is going to trip that outlet, and on this case, it is going to give us a red light on this particular one. That's notifying us that the outlet is cut off, that it's not sending power anymore. When we want to reset that, hit that reset button. That light goes away and it's good to go. Now, if it's re-tripping right off the back, we want to go unplug any griddles, any other products that we have plugged in. We might be overamping the system, and then try it again. We can also check and make sure none of those outlets are wet, shorting out that system as well. In our bedroom, of course, we have storage under our bed right here. We have our wireless phone charging systems right here on the countertops, and we have our hookup for our cable and air antenna right here in the bedroom. We're also in our ceiling, we're going to notice that little white cap. That white cap is if we want to upgrade our WineGuard air antenna system to a Wi-Fi system. We can install that WineGuard router in there, and we can have Wi-Fi boost at the campground if we've purchased Wi-Fi from them, or we can get with a cellular company and have a SIM card, and we can have Wi-Fi with us wherever we go.
Well, we hope you found that resourceful, but wait, there's more information on our Great American RV YouTube channel. This channel right here, find the playlist Hap's Helpful Hacks. We go over different products in this unit, and we'll take a deeper dive with more diagnostics, more information, as well as helpful tips when you're out camping. Tell your buddies, tell your friends, like, share, subscribe, do all those awesome things on YouTube, TikTok, wherever you found us, and keep watching here at Great American RV Superstores, where we bring the how-to you.